All right, we'll be back from the break. Let's get back to the second part of our discussion here on the issues to do with financial inclusion in the country. Now, as of yesterday, the Bank of Uganda did launch the Financial Capability Survey. So if you can help us, Alex, on the issue of this one, to expound more on the findings of the Financial Capability Survey that was launched.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things we did at the forum yesterday, and I think I did not mention to the public that we had a financial inclusion and financial literacy forum yesterday. It was physical and virtual. The objective of the forum were two. One was to reflect and share knowledge on financial inclusion, given that the strategy is coming to an end and with stakeholders, but also to look at avenues by which we can improve the knowledge, skills, and confidence of the population in how to manage their money well. So when we talk about financial matter, we refer, and in Uganda we use the terminology financial capability and financial literacy synonymously. We refer to knowledge, skills, and confidence in managing your money well under your own socioeconomic circumstance. So we are saying, even if you have 1,000, can you manage it well? Under that condition you're in, you don't say, if I had more money, probably I would manage well. So we reflect on the individual under their current circumstance. Now, we carried out a financial capability survey in 2020, just when there was a bit of ease in movement. That was when we collected the data. We took a bit of time in completing the report within 2021, and we launched it finally yesterday. The key findings that came out, and again, that's a baseline survey for Uganda, and in most countries, I think Uganda is among the few countries that have conducted an independent or a separate survey on assessing the knowledge of financial literacy or capability of its citizens. So what came out clearly, there are three components in measuring financial capability based on OECD framework. One of them, it looks at your knowledge, your ability to comprehend or to understand computation issues around interest rate, exchange rate, etc., ability to make an informed decision given option, like do you want to take a reducing balance or a flat rate for loan? Do you understand what inflation is? That one seeks to understand your knowledge on financial matters. Then the other component looks at your behavior. Do you practice budgeting, for example? When you receive money, do you plan for it before you spend, or you just spend as it comes? Then the last one is on attitude. Do you live for today? We've seen people saying money is there to be spent. So when they get it, they need to spend the money. So we look at those three components in measuring what financial capability. So the findings actually came out that financial capability in Uganda is average at about 50.4%. And looking at the three components, what stood out very well was behavior, which is the first one of the components at about 60%. Was 48%, but the worst part was the attitude of Ugandans on how they use their money, which was 35%. Now, structuring it in terms of the different regions in the country, the worst of regions are the southwestern, the lower part, and the northeastern, the Karamoja region. So it came out clearly that those areas need some specific intervention. For the central, where is Kampala, and the north and northwestern, the West Nile region, and Bunyoro, they performed fairly well, above average, which is the 50%. So in terms of how we need to use the findings, then we need to have more strategic intervention with that capability. There are other components that were measured. If you want me to talk about, I could go into. We also looked at financial consumer protection, like recourse mechanisms, that if you have a problem, who would you tell? And what is interesting, that others think they should report to police first. And issues around finances, some they would tell their friends or their family members, as opposed to reporting either to the institution services from or reporting it to the central bank, because in the case of the financial consumer protection that provides.
What if you to look at this, and how do you intend to involve the young people then as well as the small and medium-sized enterprises in here?
Yeah, aside the financial capability survey,
okay,
because the capability survey now, the findings will inform the interventions that we're going to do, and I think you asked a very good question. As I speak, for the SMEs, we are trying to have an engagement with the Federation, Federation of Small and Medium-Sized, or now we could work together in improving the financial literacy or capability for SMEs. It's an engagement we're trying to see. Now, for the young people, we have, within the strategy, we have different programs that tend to tackle the young people as well. So it's more about how do we reach the youth. And by the way, what I may not have mentioned is that part of our strategic priorities is actually the youth as well in the strategy, including also the university students, those who are just getting out of the university. So I think how we plan to implement it is pure to use stakeholder collaboration. The central bank cannot be everywhere, and this is a national strategy. So when you collaborate and understand what the rest are doing, you minimize duplication. We are also partnering, which is outside of the youth, of course, with development partners, like the UN agencies, the World Food Programme, for example, in the area of refugees, and have done a tremendous job in that area, empowering the refugees, but also the host communities around the settlement camps. So the Bank of Uganda so much believes in and that's how we move some of the things. But then when I take you back to the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, which is coming to an end, I think key sectors will still remain the youth, which is very important in that space. The youth will be very critical. The rural area will be very critical. So the bank will need to work very close with government, rural area, under the parish development mode I mentioned, is being part of it. So we'll have to collaborate. You can't do it alone.
So we've also got an issue that a number of Ugandans are not in the formal sector of the business. What drive is going to be done to ensure that at least the majority get into that formal perspective?
Getting into formal is actually not, it requires a concerted effort. The question is, why are they not formalizing? I think we need to sit back and start from there. Around difficulty in accession services, we have the Uganda Registration Services Bureau that is out there to register the business. But why business? You need to start from there. We've seen cases under agent banking where, you know, if I register my business, then you are a MX. So we need to educate our businesses that the importance of registration. Some of them may get formal, they forget the benefits of formalizing. When you formalize your business, there are many other benefits that would be visible. So the question is, why are those businesses not formalizing? Once you understand, we can, of course, overcome those challenges in that registration. SP is doing a very good job in registering business. They are more efficient. It's one of those government agencies that are found to be very efficient, and who are struggling should actually copy. We are.
Okay. So with this survey, I also intend to move closer now to the, because you mentioned something before we broke off earlier on the issue of finance, on why it is important for Ugandans to get to know of the financial services available, who to report to, and all that. So do you intend to go down to at least get into financial inclusion?
Yeah, that's true. And I think I mentioned being more targeted interventions. I highlighted two regions that we need to start, and one of them is the southwestern, and also the Karamoja region to be targeted, particularly as Bank of Uganda.
Mm.
So how we work with stakeholders in those areas, and one of the things we plan to do is to do a stakeholder mapping, trying to scope which kind of stakeholders we can work with in this process. We do radio awareness. I think it's not so much sustained. The truth is that we cannot do it alone. We need partners to support us in doing. The bank will be part and parcel of the PDM and the parish.
Okay.
That's why I just mode of taking services down to the people, and if we work very close, I think we'll achieve
Okay.
very well.
Now, you mentioned the conclusion, the survey 20. That was the first report.
No, the capability survey. The one I just mentioned is the 2020. Financial inclusion survey was 2018, but these 2020 methodologies are different, and some of the views could be quite different. The World Bank looks at having an account, either financial institution or a mobile money.
So when you look at and the current one, where are the differences? The various where can you look? The differences are here, and then we've apparently got to perform.
Well, the surveys, the objectives were totally different to begin with. I could see an improvement.
Okay.
When I tried to patch from the different surveys, the capability had a totally different, not really focusing on measuring financial inclusion, aspects of financial inclusion. They were picked some aspects of financial inclusion, but they were full of accounts and mobile financial services. Look at the World Bank, which is more late, the latest. We see a progress, 58% is in the side of scope and 2% based on bank accounts. Our feeling is that we should 66% by now. We can only validate that if we carry out another survey and we'll say, okay, we've made this progress, But absolutely, we've asked about variation, but I think we've made progress in some aspects to do. But we've made progress in some aspects. Our gut feeling is that we should be in excess of 70% overall. Formal, have informal access that could be taking us to around plus 85 or so percent.
All right. Now you're winding up with our discussion.
The final remarks, I just want to encourage the stakeholders to join us in implementing inclusion and financial literacy. Okay. We have a new strategy by, let me say, the next quarter, between October and December. And I call upon the stakeholders to join in crafting the new strategy. It has to be an inclusive strategy. We'll all implement together for the benefit of the economy and Ugandans at large.
Okay. Thanks, Alex Patrick Ochan, the Assistant Director of National Payment Systems Department from the Bank of Uganda, as we're looking at financial services and now looking at financial inclusion. As of yesterday, the Bank of Uganda did a ability survey where among the key issues was to ensure that Ugandans get to understand more of financial services are running in the country, and also getting included into the financial topics as well. Speaking of that, with the parish development model in this financial year, the government, or with the program, all Ugandans will be into them, and that is what we wish for by the parish development model initiative, or the parish development model program. Now, with that, as we are winding up with our topic of this, SMB Insight. Now, this time Insight is literally looking at who are having some issues after different regulations and the issue of certifications that is affecting their work. Let's have a look at more of the.
have the space, the marketed space for that hotel, and which is very huge, that covers from Bulago Island to the Wachiso district. So in this case, mere fishermen, and that is the only source of income around that area. So idea is Ministry of Fisheries to intervene and revise the breeding zone in protected area of Bulago Hotel Management and the breeding space that fishermen are supposed to fish from. Second, they also want to urge to enforce Bulago Hotel Management to Fisheries Department costs, because they tend to fill the whole, almost half, to the other side of the lakeside. Government, I also appeal the government to also policy of usage and utilization, including fish farming in the lakes, on the lakes regarding other Ugandans who traditionally from those lakes. So, State for Fisheries Emeritus. What my friend has raised was an issue that was raised during that time. Bulago covers a lacustrine protected area. And the breeding area that she talked about that's supposed to go into is in the statutory instrument. It's supposed to be protected. Poor fishermen do not know protected areas because we have not provided money to place the demarcation, the beacons. The point of safeguarding areas is very key. Supposed to be no-go area. Otherwise, we shall not have the fish. So what we have to do, we help the minister in charge of fisheries working with works to put the beacons on the lake. The pending issue that will guide the fishermen so that they breed area. This is the information I wanted to give, and I thank you. You are aware of our aquaculture policy. Before anybody is given a license to do aquaculture, scientific research is done. This is the East African Lake Victoria Organization. Around Kome, there are 420 cages officially licensed and are demarcated in such a way that the cages are not placed where meat. Otherwise, the fish in the cages will also be affected. Aquaculture is a policy that we agreed in money. We are